I would like to make a few statements on the budget. I'm very concerned. I mean, you look all around, not only Connecticut, but around the world. In my lifetime, I've never seen fiscal mess like this in Spain, Portugal, Italy, Ireland. And then you come here in the United States on our federal level, and then here on the state level. It does give you pause. And then this morning I did speak to some students at Cheney Tech before I came in. And basically the first question they had was like question and answer, and they wanted to know the fiscal situation in Connecticut. So I told them, that budget deficit. If you looked in the New York Times, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, they showed states with the percentage of the budget in debt. We were about 19%. There were only 7 states that were below us in the nation. There were some that hadn't reported, but looked like about 45 states or so, and we were 7th. Massachusetts, who we used to make fun of, they were about 6% of their budget in deficit. So it does make you wonder. And then you look at the per capita debt, highest in the nation. You look at the unfunded liabilities, our pension plan, and here again, New York Times had an article, only Illinois has funded their pensions in a poorer manner than we have here in Connecticut. That's the only state that we're 49th. Unfunded and underfunded liabilities. And then as Senator Boucher mentioned, the unemployment compensation tax that's going to hit the employers this summer. I don't know if a lot of them are even aware that that's coming, but that's going to be a big number, and it's going to blindside them. And then, then you think about the opportunities we had when we had the money coming in to pay down debt and do the right thing. But this is no short-term problem. This didn't just sneak up on us. But anybody who understands the free enterprise system just a little bit knows that you have peaks and valleys. And when we had those peaks, when we were raking in big cash from Fairfield County, I mean, about 25% of the folks that work on Wall Street live in Connecticut, either Fairfield County or Litchfield County usually. And in March of April of every year, they were paying, right now, big checks. And we got pretty comfortable with that. And we spent it. And I told this to the kids, and I said, there's no bad guys in this. I mean, what we spent it on has a constituency. It has a following. There are people who benefit from the programs. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no program. None of these programs are wasteful in and of themselves. But at some point, just like a family or a business, you have to see which of them is cost effective and which is not. And we just haven't done that. And we were all in politics. We like to be liked. And people come up and they give you an idea and you have a tendency to want to do it. And, that's a fine quality in people, but at some point it becomes unsustainable. And I think we were actually at that point a long time ago, but we just didn't do anything about it. I was sure, though, this time we were. I was sure that this time that we would work together as adults and try to figure out how we're going to get out of this mess. And I watched the kids at Cheney Tech this morning, and I'm thinking, man, they're a serious group. And good kids, all very attentive, good questions. But maybe I scared them. So thinking about that after I don't want to be too negative. But, these kids are, a lot of them are going out to work next year. They're seniors. Some of them are going on more schooling, but some of them are not. Some of them are going to go into the trades, which has about a 25% or 30% unemployment rate here in Connecticut. So they got every reason to be serious. And one of the kids asked me, he said, well, could this mess be caused by the bad winter? We heard of all the extra expenses that the towns had with the snow removal and all that. I said, boy, if only if it were only that simple. Because most likely next winter wouldn't be as bad as this one. But I had a friend of mine did financial planning, and he said, hope is not an investment strategy. And the same thing with our budget. Hope is not a strategy for us to run the government. We can't hope that it's going to be better. That's not enough. We had to make some structural changes, had to change the system. We haven't done that. And I did town meetings with a couple of state representatives. I did them in 4 towns. And they were from the House. And one of the slides really caught me. It was a young couple, a police officer and a nurse, 2 young kids. And, I have a daughter who's a nurse, so maybe that's why I got attention to it. We have a lot of police officers in our extended family. And they had the income up there, about $100,000, what Senator Boucher mentioned. And it's going to cost them $1,000 additional, not $100,000, but $1,000 of the $100,000 for these new taxes. And then one of the towns that I represent has a 5% increase proposed on the property tax. So if you're paying $5,000 in property tax, which is pretty low in Connecticut, that's another $250. And then we don't know what the feds are going to do to us yet. So is that another $250 or $500? So you could be talking about this young couple, the nurse and the police officer, coming up with $1,500, $1,700 in new taxes. They just got a $1,500 or $1,700 pay cut. And I understand that, making cuts causes hardship. But make no mistake, raising taxes causes hardship. And the people that are in this slide, they have a job. So they're the lucky ones. They're working. But we got an unemployment rate around 10%. And from what people tell me who know about these things, that's really an effective unemployment rate of about 17%, 18%, because you got people who have stopped looking for jobs. So they're counted in. You've got people who have run out of the unemployment benefits, so they're no longer counted. So you got an effective unemployment rate of 17%. I talked to, and then I guess you couple that with no job growth, no opportunity for these young kids. Kids going away from school, for colleges, not even looking to come back to Connecticut for jobs because they know there's nothing here. It's just not a good situation. It didn't happen overnight. We're probably not going to solve it. Definitely not going to solve it overnight. But I think I heard something on the radio about, when you're in a hole, the first thing you ought to do is stop digging. And unfortunately, this budget hasn't stopped digging. Thank you, Mr. President.